players will cheat each other. The players have no interest in standards. They have no interest in what's best for the crowd and all these other things. They just care about their self-interest, hitting the most home runs or whatever. They know what their advantage is. Each one of them has their advantage, and they will make the rules to suit their advantages. And so if they're 6 feet tall, they're going to set rules that are agree with rules that are going to be disadvantageous to people who are 5 feet tall. That's the way the businesses play the game. That's why you need something independent outside of this self-interest to apply a set of rules, a rational set of standards and rules to say this is how you will conduct yourself. Idiot.
Regulations that are stopping that. It's mostly competition. Now you brought up the fact that we don't have a free market capitalist system now, and then therefore the benefits that we have, you assume that the benefits that we have are because we don't have a free market capitalist system. It's the opposite. We leech a certain amount of wealth because of the aspects of free market capitalism within our system, and we...
Well, I don't know, leech is probably the right word. The only reason why we have anything at all in this country is because we owned the investment capital. We owned surplus. And we took our surplus like if we were Egypt, and we had tons and tons and tons of wheat in silos. And we took our surplus and we gave it to China and said, here, let's get people to do work over here, because we only have to give them 1/10 of the amount of wheat to get the same amount of work out of them that we have to give them over here. And so they invested in that market, and they exploited that labor. And there was a huge return for doing that, a huge profit gleaned by doing that over any company that stayed in the old model. And so that money comes into this country, and then it's such a huge pile of money that there's plenty of money to be spread around now to have people do stupid work, service jobs, to have them build yachts and to have them polish floors and have them groundskeep and cut bushes and do all kinds of other work for the rich. So that money does trickle down into our economy. But now it's not going to happen anymore. Okay, that profit engine is going to be closed now because the Chinese can exploit their own people. They can enslave their own people. They're not going to need our investment capital anymore because they have their own investment capital. So that game is over. No, there's not going to be any more trickle down, and so there's not going to be any more delusion of us being wealthy. We're going to start realizing that we each owe $200,000 to the federal government in taxes we haven't paid, and we're going to feel damn poor pretty soon.
We could do much better if we freed up the market, if we had less regulations, less government stepping in the way and creating many of the problems that we see in society. I can give you one of the examples of the problems. You brought up the example. You asked the question of, would I feel better if we didn't have consumer product safety or the FDA? I actually would. The FDA printed out an advertisement when beta blockers were released. And the advertisement basically said that they were all proud of themselves for releasing a new product, beta blockers, that they said will save 250,000 people in 1 year. 250,000 people in 1 year because they let this product on the market. They were all proud of themselves, patting themselves on the back. But what they didn't, what everyone seemed to ignore, is that they kept beta blockers off the market for 10 years. Now, if you do the math, that's 2 point...
Yeah, well, do whatever math you want to. So you're saying, on whole, with all the pluses and minuses of how the FDA has interacted in controlling snake oil in America, that you're saying it has failed to control it in a beneficial way to the human race. That the products aren't safer, better, and more effective because of the FDA, and we would have been better off without it. That we'd probably then be... People would still be suckered into using Laetril. People would still be suckered into using all kinds of bullshit because they had the illusion that it worked. Because there's no way to know. All there is anecdotal crap that people end up going by. And so you need something that applies the standard again. You need a standard that says this is the minimum standard you have to meet before you can play in this game. You can't just come to the park with some kind of bullshit theory that, here, stick this screwdriver in your ear and it'll give you magic powers. I mean, you could probably sell that idea to some lunatic because you say, well, the tip is coated with a special formula of, a magnoelectrolyte and it'll give you superpowers. And you might be able to fool people. And that's what the world ran on before, and you goddamn know it. Go back and look at catalogs from the 1920s or the 30s even. All right, and they were just full of wives' tales and bullshit. I mean, go look at what medicine looked like back then, idiot.
5 million people that the FDA killed. That's more than people. The FDA killed more people by keeping beta.
I mean, that rhetoric is just so irresponsible. Like they knew it worked and they kept it off the market because there was absolutely no concern of any other liability. I mean, every time they approve something, they have to take responsibility for it. Do you have that responsibility? Do you want the responsibility? Do you have the balls to take the responsibility? I'd love for you to be the guy who sits there and rubber stamps. Take your rubber fucking stamp and every notion that somebody comes up with, any bullshit theory or therapy they come up with, and I want you to put your signature on it and say, I approve of this asshole being able to sell this bullshit to people. And then we can blame you for the death that you caused, for the lead that's in the product, or the other poisons that are in the product, and the little kids that are killed by it. And we can all point our fucking finger right at your fucking little cruddy little pudgy face and say, you murdered them, you motherfucker. I mean, you're just such a weasel. This is a weasel argument, you motherfucking prick. like the FDA is a maniacal organization. The FDA is controlled by big business, basically. The only time they make mistakes, it's usually because there's some business interest. It's like this e-cigarette thing. They're not going to approve this. Why? Because it's going to hurt the tax base. They'll come up with some kind of bizarre thing. They test 20 of these things, and one little tip ends up having antifreeze, a constituent of antifreeze in it. Okay, that wouldn't kill you anyway. But one tip. Okay, so it's not the whole device that's broken. It's not all manufacturers that are broken. It's just one manufacturer is broken, and they use something like that as an excuse to say, no, we're not going to approve this technology. So obviously they have a political corruption, a government corruption, a big business corruption. All right, but let's not pretend the corruption is we the people. Don't pretend it's some sort of socialism corruption that's invading the FDA. No, the FDA is a corruption of big fucking business.
Blockers off the market than the Iraq and Afghanistan war. And nobody talks about it in these instances. Why do no one talks about it?
Because nobody is idiotic enough to sit there and buy your rhetoric that the FDA has something to do with the maniacal decision to go murder people in another country by you Republican motherfucking capitalist manipulative bastards who just want to keep the world in chaos so you can keep exploiting it, you motherfucking prick.
We're talking about people that there's no face to these people. You can't see a face to people who are harmed indirectly by keeping drugs off the market. You only see the face of people who are harmed.
I'll just say it again. Let's put your signature on it, okay? And then when the mistakes will be made, and they will be made, and people will die like in Nepal, India, or someplace else, and then we can point our finger, and there'll be a giant oil spill, and there'll be death and mayhem all over the fucking place, and we can all point our fucking fingers right at you and say, there's your Hitler. There's your motherfucking maniacal, deliberate, willful killer. The murderer. Lee Doran.
Harmed by drugs that go onto the market. And yes, I completely concede that there will be some bad drugs on the market. However, you still have a net benefit of allowing...
And how do you know that? How do you know we have a net benefit? By what preposterous rationale do you come up with this theory that you know there's a net benefit? Obviously, there's been a ton of things that have never even been tried to be put on the market because the FDA was in place. So go back to 1920, go back to 1930, go back to some period before it was highly regulated, and go find your truth there. Go find how many people ended up addicted to drugs and how many people's lives were ruined by medications that were completely ineffective because they thought it was going to cure something.
People to have those drugs on the market in a competition weed themselves out. Companies are not in the interest of harming their customers. Customers, they want to provide them with the best goods and services possible.
Yeah, and they don't care about the customer or the employee. They just care about the PR. Yeah, so they won't go beyond some kind of pale. But Exxon is still in business. BP will be in business. Okay, they will live to fuck us again.
There'll be mistakes. And yes, people will be harmed by keeping drugs off the market. From the objective numbers, it's caused more people to be harmed than not. Now, I don't...
And from the objective numbers, like I said, you just pull these numbers out of nowhere, out of nothing. Like I said, we know there's a whole bunch of people out there with all kinds of crackery theories. All right, and they can't get on the market because of the limitation placed on the market. And if those people did have the power to get people to say, oh yeah, we can sell this shit to people, yeah, we can make some big money on this crap. It costs us 5 cents to make, and we can fool them into thinking it'll cure their cancer.
I'm not going to persuade people, from this one YouTube video, but it is something to think about in the way our society is constructed on how much these regulations actually harm. It's not all a one-way street. And in fact,
yeah, but it is a one-way street. The idea of engineering systems is a one-way street to a likely more efficient system. Standards do help. And it's like copyright, okay? That's a regulation, isn't it? So in your unregulated perfect world, there'd be no copyright protection, no protection of intellectual property. So now you would have to be not only the inventor, but you would have to be the marketer. And you have to be very effective at both very quickly, okay? Or you're not going to make any money on your work, okay? Because somebody else will steal it, they'll produce it more cheaply, and you'll be out of luck. So is it your suggestion that in a free market there should be no copyright? Because that is a regulation, isn't it? I mean, that is regulation. That is a rational implementation of some sort of system control. Is it not, idiot?
People who are suffering from cancer or something really serious. How many of these people would like to try experimental drugs, even if they're not, because they're given a special...
And they have modified the system, so now you're just talking out your ass again. They have mechanisms in place now where drug trials can take place and that people can volunteer for those trials. All right, but again, you don't want to take responsibility, do you? Do you, like I said, do you want to put your signature on it? Do you want to be the person responsible? I don't think you have the balls to be that person.
Short amount of time. We should let those people experiment with drugs, but doctors can not only lose a license but go to jail sometimes for prescribing certain types of drugs. Just something to think about. Everyone,
it's not a doctor problem. It's the drug company problem, and they get stuck with a huge liability if they make a fucking mistake. If they go in the market and advertise something that's going to give you a boner and it gives you a heart attack instead, well, that's a fucking goddamn problem.
If you haven't seen my first video response to TJ, please see that, because I'm not going to talk about the whole thing again. I want to talk for 20 minutes. And I think I more or less covered all of the arguments that you made, because those were the main arguments we had. If I didn't, feel free to let me know. And that's how the world works. So if you're interested in that kind
so how the world works is you make one of this silly, sappy little video, and you think you've destroyed TJ's argument, and he's not going to come back and say, oh yeah, no need for a further video. I completely understand. You've convinced me capitalism is brilliant. I mean, that was just so fucking stupid. I mean, of course he's going to say, no, you're full of shit. Okay, you didn't address anything. No doubt you did not even touch the substance of his argument, even though I haven't seen his video, because this is just too stupid. I mean, there's no way TJ could make a video dumber than this one.
test and you're a student, you want to have a great opportunity to put something on a resume, check the link below. And I think I responded.
Yeah, as long as your resume is going to be read by some greedy capitalist motherfucking leechy inheritance beneficiary fucktard, then yeah, it'd be a good idea. If I'm reading a resume, you're probably not going to want to have Enterprise Institute written on it.
It's all the videos. Like I said, I'm not going to really persuade everyone in just a quick YouTube video. I just got back home from work. I thought I'd throw this out here for everyone. But
well, you just said you basically took care of his whole entire argument, and you just convinced him. You know, you must have been convincing. You must have persuaded everybody. You just said that. Now you're saying, well, you can't do it. So that was kind of dumb.
I think I hit everything. So, TJ, thanks for the video, and I'll...
You hit it with a little wimp wrist. You didn't really hit it very hard. I think air hit it. I think you just waved at it. You waved at it, you know, with your little Tyrannosaurus arms. Just kind of waved at it, but you didn't really hit anything.
Talk to you later.
Yeah, right. Okay, good buddy. 10-4. See you on the backside. Yeah. So whatever. Well, that was sort of fun. Yeah, I have to do more of these Lee Dorn videos. I kind of gave it up because he doesn't respond to me, so there's no point, you know. But I might as well make the videos just so they're out there. Maybe I'll put his name in the title, like How the World Works, Lee Dorn, you butthead. Butthead. Yeah, I'll put Lee Dorn, butthead. How the World Works. Well, you know, I won't tell you the title now in the video. I'll have the title on the video, and then you'll see the title in the video. Oh yeah, that was a perfectly good title. Or maybe I might just say fuck it. Yeah, maybe I'll just put title like fuck it. Okay, anyway, till next time.